What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why I am hyped for Mario Kart World. And I'm making this video not only because I'm really excited about the new game in the Mario Kart series, but also because it feels like there isn't a lot of excitement around this new game from Nintendo that's coming out in just under 2 weeks. It feels like a lot of people, understandably so, are a little bit down on this game, a little bit frustrated, and not quite raring to go on June 5th. The reality is a lot of people are going to buy this game, but it feels like a lot of people aren't exactly over the moon too. And obviously there are valid reasons for that. I feel like Nintendo hasn't done a great job marketing why this game is going to be so big, and also it is an $80 game, which no matter what is going to be a tough pill to swallow. This could be a game that satisfies everyone's expectations and hopes and dreams, and it still probably would be controversial and a disappointment just because its price starts with an 8. But I already made a whole video on the price. I don't want to talk about that today. I want to be positive because look, I am super excited for this game. Mario Kart is a series that I play the heck out of, and I've played Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe forever now. Obviously, these games have been out for over a decade. I must have hundreds of hours between the two games on my Wii U and my Switch. I am so ready for the new iteration of the Mario Kart series because as good as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is, and as great as it is to return to that game all the time, it is starting to get stale. And Mario Kart World isn't just another Mario Kart game, it is a true revolution of the Mario Kart series, turning it into one big interconnected world with all sorts of stuff to do and some new modes that seem to make the experience even more fun. And we're going to get into all of that today because I want to tell you why you should be excited for this game and why I think people are sleeping on how good and how epic this game is going to be. Well, number 1 on my list is the one I have the most to talk about, and that is, of course, free roam mode. The mode of my dreams. The mode that I said I wished so desperately would happen, but I knew never would, or at least I thought never would, because Nintendo exceeded my wildest expectations and made Mario Kart World this big, interconnected racing game that I thought the Mario Kart series would really benefit from. But it seems like a lot of people aren't as smitten as I am with this new mode in Mario Kart. They think there's not enough content in it, there's not a real good reason that Nintendo made this open world, and it seems like free roam mode might just be a fun little thing you do with friends, but if you're playing alone, there's not much of a reason to do it. Not much of a reason to explore this world. And I get that sentiment, right? Because, like I said earlier, Nintendo has not done that good of a job advertising this game and showing why it's going to be big. I think they've kind of just told us, it's a new Mario Kart, there is a free roam mode, it's going to be cool, but they haven't really gone in detail explaining to us why, and they've kind of made us pick up the pieces and put the puzzle together as to why this could be a really exciting mode to play on day one. That's what I want to do in this segment. I want to talk about all the reasons that I think free roam mode is going to be big and super fun when Mario Kart World comes out, and why you shouldn't be as down on it as you are. I think this is going to be an incredible mode, and I think a lot of the things people think they're not getting out of free roam mode, they might actually be getting out of free roam mode. So let's get into some reasons I think that free roam mode could be pretty darn cool. 1, the world seems really big. There's a lot of different branching paths. Obviously, there's 30 courses all in one interconnected continent. But I think the thing that gets slept on is how many different paths there are stretching off of every single course. If you look at the map that they show on the website, I mean, just look at all the different routes there are to take on here. And I know there is some controversy around how you drive from one course to another, and I think that's going to be pretty cool and pretty fun. I wasn't all the way there, but when I read that developer interview that came out about a week ago, I was sold. Because if you read that developer interview, you will learn that they spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make those in-between sections fun. They aren't just to get you from one place to another. They are supposed to function as tracks themselves, and time will tell if that actually happens, but I trust their judgment, and from what I've seen of these in-between tracks, they do seem pretty fun and pretty involved, especially with that new move where you jump in a straight line. I don't know what the exact term for it is, but they showed it off in the direct. That's going to make these in-between sections really exciting because you can essentially jump on anything and ride it now, because you can get a little boost from that straight jump, maybe get on a rail, get on a wall, something like that. And I'll get to later why the gameplay excites me so much, but I think there's so many opportunities there. Point is, yes, there are only 30 courses to explore in free roam mode, but there's a lot of in-between quote-unquote courses as well. Maybe you could call them mini courses that you can explore in addition to the main courses on the map. I think people are sleeping on how many little nooks and crannies and fun little cute locations there are going to be on this world to explore. So yeah, this world seems super big, super exciting. Again, we'll get into some of the things we might be able to do in the world, but just from a visual perspective, just from a scope perspective, it does seem pretty darn massive, and there is obviously so much care and detail that has gone into this world. Every single second of gameplay we get of free roam mode, you can tell how much heart they put into this game. There's little characters in every single car or boat or plane. Anywhere there's a bench or a seat or something, there's a Toad or a Shy Guy or a Yoshi sitting in it. Throughout the world, you'll see little Toads with backpacks. You'll see Yoshis just walking around in cities. There was even a picture that came out in that developer direct of 2 Toads fishing. I mean, there's just so much charm to this world. So many cute little details they added. It's worth noting this is a game that's been in development for like 8 years now, so it's not surprising that there would be so many little details that add so much to this world's feel, but there really are, and I think there will be even more fun little things to find on this overworld, even if it is from a visual perspective. I think there is some value in that, just driving past something cute and taking a picture of it and saying, oh, that's fun, you know? I think there is some value in that, even if there's not something extrinsically linked to that in terms of a reward or a check mark on a list. But let's get into the thing that seems to be the main draw of the single-player aspect of free roam mode, and those are the P-switch missions. And I think this is another thing that people are sleeping on. We've seen some footage of some of these missions, and they seem pretty cute. Yes, there are missions where you drive through the hoops and get to the end goal, but there's other missions where you have to drive through a bunch of cows and get to a goal. You have to parkour across a few wires to collect blue coins and get to the end. And I was looking at my Switch's news app, which I know isn't something a lot of people do. That's a very seldom used app for many Nintendo fans. But there was an article about Mario Kart World, and it talked about the free roam mode, and it said how there were so many different missions to do, and some of them you even use items in. So I think there could be a lot of fun stuff they do with these missions. It's clear they're not just going to be go through the loops, get to the end, that's it. Which is all I can ask, because I've wanted mission mode back in Mario Kart forever, and this is even more than I expected. They keep talking about how there are hundreds of P-switches across this world. That's hundreds of missions that we can complete in free roam mode. So I'm not really sure why there's this conception that mission mode isn't back in this game, because it is. It's in free roam mode. And yes, some of these missions are a bit shorter than the missions that were in Mario Kart DS, but if you've played Mario Kart DS's mission mode, I love it to death. But there are a lot of short missions, and there are missions that just have you go through hoops to get to the end. There's missions where you just have to run over enemies with stars. Everyone remembers that mode for the boss battles, and the boss battles are excellent, and I hope that somehow there are boss battles linked to this free roam mode, although I'm not really confident there are going to be. But besides the boss battles, there are a lot of quick, simplistic missions in Mario Kart DS. Let's say there are 200 missions in Mario Kart World, which could even be undershooting it, because they say hundreds of P-switches. Who knows how many that could be. In some of the clips they've shown off of free roam mode, there's multiple P-switches in the same area. Like, there's not some sort of rule that they have to be spaced out across the world. They are just wherever the developers could fit a mission into. So I think there could be a ton of different P-switches in this world. And we'll get to the question panels later, but there seems to be a lot of question panels as well. So if there's so many question panels, you would think there might even be more P-switches, because the P-switches seem to be the main draw of this free roam mode. But let's say there are 200 P-switch missions in free roam mode. If they were just listed in a menu, instead of being on this interconnected world, let's say Mario Kart World was just Mario Kart 9, and instead of a big interconnected world, they just did a bunch of disjointed tracks again, and then they added a mission mode where there were 200 missions on a list. Would people be more excited about that? I feel like they would be. But because it's not as clear how many missions there are going to be or how in-depth this mission mode with the P-switches is, people don't seem to be excited, and people seem to think that there isn't a mission mode in this game. And I guess technically there isn't, because there was sort of a progression to mission mode on the DS where you would complete a certain number of challenges and then fight a boss, and then unlock another number of challenges and then fight that boss. There was a bit of a rhythm to it that doesn't seem to be the case in Mario Kart World. But there are so many more missions in Mario Kart World, and they seem to have more variety. Although, again, the jury is out on that one for now. And while there doesn't seem to be a progression in terms of the mission structure, what there does seem to be is a tangible reward. Because you see in the video, because we've seen from videos Nintendo has shared that when someone completes a mission, they get a little sticker in the corner. And we saw in the developer interview that those stickers go in a menu and you can add them to your cart. So functionally, you're getting a better, more useful reward for missions in Mario Kart World. You're getting something you can put on your cart. In DS, you didn't get much of anything, besides the ability to unlock a new set of missions. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I have a lot of nostalgia and love for Mario Kart DS, and we have to play Mario Kart World before we can make any determinations, but I think this idea that Mario Kart World doesn't have an in-depth mission mode is a bit inaccurate, at least from what we've seen. Because it seems like there are going to be a lot of missions on this world. They're just going to be more spread out, and you'll have to drive from one to another, and maybe people would rather just have them on a menu and select them. I get that. But for me, I'm a big feel guy. I love a good open world, and driving from one to the next, exploring this vast Mario Kart world sounds so cool. So I prefer it this way. If you don't, I understand. I love Mario Kart DS as well. And if Mario Kart World doesn't have bosses, that is a big detractor from it when you're comparing it to Mario Kart DS. But I don't know, I think these P-switches are going to be really significant, and I think people are sleeping on them. But there's not just P-switches in free roam mode. There's also Peach medallions, which we've seen hidden across the world. Some people ran into them when they were at the Nintendo Switch 2 event playing Mario Kart, and we've seen in some videos Nintendo has shared that they've even been in some hard-to-reach places. I don't think these medallions, at least not all of them, are going to be, oh, you just drove past them, you collect them, that's it. I think some of them are going to be in harder, more hidden places that you have to really search out for, kind of like in Mario Odyssey where there's moons everywhere, but some of them aren't just in plain sight. It's also worth noting that a character silhouette pops up when you collect a Peach medallion. And if you look at the map they showed in the video, there's a character face next to each course in the game. So I wonder if there's some sort of link there. Maybe if you collect all the medallions, you get a special character mission or a special boss fight. I don't know. I just think it's odd that there's a character silhouette when you collect a Peach medallion. There has to be something there that connects the character to the Peach medallions in a certain area. We'll find out soon enough, but I think there's something more to Peach medallions. But even if there isn't, that is a pretty cool thing to find. And, maybe you do a cool trick, you get to a hard-to-reach area, and you get rewarded with a Peach medallion. That's a pretty good feedback loop, in my opinion. There are also coins scattered all across the world, and even some coin piles in similarly hard-to-reach places on the world. And people have talked about what coins could be used for. Well, in that same Nintendo News article I referenced, they say that coins are used to unlock stuff. Now, what could that stuff be? Who knows? Now, it seems like they're not going to be used to unlock characters, because it seems like that's through Kamek, through that power where it changes them to a certain enemy. It seems like it's not going to be costumes, because those are unlocked through those Yoshi's Diner things. And it seems like it wouldn't be something cosmetic like a sticker, because it seems like those are unlocked through missions. So who knows what that stuff is that they are referencing in that paragraph, but it seems like coins have some sort of use in this world. And if you look at some of the videos they've shared, there are coins in really hard to reach places that you would have to do some certain tricks to get to. So once again, there's a fun little feedback loop of performing a really cool trick, getting to a hard to reach place, getting a coin pile, and then going to whatever store there is and cashing in those coins for some sort of reward. Like a lot of marketing for this game, they are being very vague about that, which means one of two things. It's not really involved, or it is really involved and they want to surprise us. I'm kind of leaning the former just because I've been burned before, expecting something that isn't strictly outlined in lead up promotional material to a game. But I think it's possible there's more to this than we're giving Nintendo credit for. And again, we'll just have to wait till June 5th, but I think it's notable that coins seem to play a bigger role in this free roam mode than most people are giving them credit for. Question panels are another feature in this free roam mode, and we saw in the Nintendo Treehouse for a brief second that the person hovered over a stage and it showed there were 10 question panels, and none of them were filled out. So we can assume, theoretically, that each course has 10 question panels hidden within it. And if that's the case, that would mean that there are 300 question panels in Mario Kart World. Because remember, there are 30 courses, because 2 courses are reused in Grand Prix. 300 question panels. Now, it doesn't seem like anything happens when you click one. We saw in the Direct that Wario ran over a question panel and he just kind of kept going. So I don't know if each individual one does something, but it is notable that there seems to be 10 per course. So perhaps if you get all 10, something unlocks, something happens in the overworld. I'm not sure why they would just be there to ride over, because that would serve literally no functional purpose, and they are specifically tracking it in the menu. So I think there is something to see here. In one of the videos Nintendo shared, there's a big mountain in one of the areas with a pipe on top of it and a question panel. And there's pipes all across the world. So that makes me think that you can go into a pipe and get transported to another secret area. I'm not saying there's gonna be a whole underground section or a whole cloud section that we don't know about, but I think there's gonna be some areas that you can only get to through pipes, and maybe they just have a question mark panel, maybe they just have a Peach medallion, but that could be another cool thing, finding little secret areas that the game devs have hidden and given you certain prizes in, could be really fun. So both of those things, the question marks and the pipes, it's yet to be seen if they have any functional purpose or if they are just fun little things to do, but I think they are really notable because they're just another thing to do on this overworld. You have the P-switches, you have the Peach medallions, you have coins to collect to use for some purpose, you have question panels, you have pipes, and then there's one more thing that I think has also gone pretty under discussed that I found interesting in the footage we've seen, and that's Nabbit. In the first trailer for Mario Kart World, we saw briefly Nabbit having a little outpost in the desert, and I thought, well, maybe that's just Nabbit's area, maybe it's not anything notable. But then in a recent clip Nintendo shared, we see Nabbit in the, foresty area on top of the map. I don't know what these tracks are called, but it's the really cool apple forest area that's near the top of the world. Nabbit has a little outpost there, which makes me think that maybe Nabbit has an outpost in every single stage of the game. And even if that's not the case, maybe Nabbit has a number of outposts across the world. And this is another one of those features where it's kind of a who knows in terms of what that could mean. Maybe there are certain missions related to Nabbit. I mean, he's a guy who kind of steals stuff. He has a sack on his back all the time. Maybe he wants you to collect certain items around the world and bring them back to him. Maybe he's the one you give coins to buy items. I mean, Nabbit would certainly like some extra coins. So maybe you go to him and you give him some coins and he does something for you. I just think it's notable that there are definitely multiple Nabbit outposts on the world. So in some way, Nabbit has something to do with what you can do on the overworld. And in the Direct, when they're talking about free roam mode, they say you can find P-switches, Peach medallions, question mark panels, and more. So this idea that there's only going to be question mark panels and P-switches and Peach medallions, I think is incorrect. There are clearly going to be more things in this overworld. The question is, are they going to be more significant than, just saying hi to a toad or something? Are they going to be something really cool to experience, something really cool to collect or find. Who knows? But it seems like there are a lot of little things on this overworld to find. Obviously the 3 we've mentioned, but also coins, which are used for something, pipes, which lead you to somewhere potentially, and Nabbit, who has some sort of function, we just don't know it yet. I'm pretty sure of that. So when people talk about how there's going to be nothing to do in this overworld, I just disagree. I mean, obviously we do not know. We'll know on June 5th, and I'll be the first one to say the open world sucks if the open world sucks and there's nothing to do. I'm not afraid to walk back my opinion. I get things wrong a lot on this channel, but I just feel like there's going to be so many little cute things to do in the overworld, and it's going to last a pretty long time. And ultimately, it comes down to what kind of player you are. If you wanted a big story mode or some sort of involved quest system for Mario Kart World, you're probably not going to be interested in just driving around the world and completing little missions. But if you're like me and you just wanted mission mode to come back in DS, this is an even better version, in my opinion, of what mission mode offered. It's mission mode, but in an open world. It's mission mode, but with so much more charm. It's mission mode, but with little smaller missions scattered around the big P-switch missions in the open world. I just feel like this is going to be such an involved open world mode for Mario Kart. Again, it's not a whole narrative. It's not some sort of massive single player experience like Breath of the Wild was on the launch of the Switch 1, but I think it's a lot more notable and a lot more significant than people are giving it credit for. But that is more than enough talk about free roam mode, because there are other things to do in Mario Kart World, and the second one is what I think is really exciting, Knockout Tour. Knockout Tour looks so amazing. I said this in a Mario Kart World impressions video a while back, but Knockout Tour feels like such a smart evolution of Mario Kart. It's Mario Kart's take on a battle royale, right? You start with 24 racers and you get down to 2 at the end. I think that's so cool. This idea that on the first race you just have to be no worse than 20th, but on that last race, it's you versus someone else racing on that final track, and oh, that's just going to be so thrilling. The adrenaline's going to be pumping. That is such a cool take on Mario Kart, and I feel like that is a big selling point for this game. Like, that could have been the big addition to Mario Kart. If Mario Kart World was just Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus Knockout Tour, sort of, right? Not this big evolution in terms of an open world Mario Kart, that would still be a pretty significant improvement, because Knockout Tour not only is a different way to play the game, but it gives you a bunch of different cups, right? Instead of having a certain group of 4, you have a bunch of different groups of 6. It's just such a clever and such a fun twist on the normal Mario Kart gameplay formula, and it's going to be a nice quick alternative to have to the main Mario Kart racing mode. This is going to be much quicker than your normal Mario Kart race, which, you know, takes upwards of 20 minutes. This is probably only going to take, what, 10? And that's if you get to the end. If you get knocked out earlier, you can just leave and go on to another race. So it is a really nice alternative in terms of time, but obviously in terms of gameplay, it's far different. So yeah, I am super excited for Knockout Tour. Another thing I'm excited for is the dynamic gameplay. I mentioned this a little earlier with the straight drift, I believe is what it's called, where you drift in a straight line and you jump. You don't need a drift turning. You can drift straight now, which I think is going to change the entire game, especially when you combine that with rail grinding and wall riding. I mean, there's so many opportunities to just do a straight drift onto a wall, flip off the wall, onto a rail, onto a lamppost, onto, you know, traffic lights somewhere. Just the opportunities to trick all across these courses are endless. And I've seen people mention that larger courses are going to mean there are less traditional shortcuts, and maybe that means less of a skill gap. And in some ways, I agree, because obviously there are shortcuts on these maps, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be the same shortcuts as we had in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where there were some really funky turns you could make and secret paths you could take to get an edge. But I think the skill gap is going to come back in that you can pull off so many little tricks to gain a boost or to get onto a certain area of the course that previously was inaccessible in the old Mario Kart games. And if you find a way to trick all across these courses, you can probably get a pretty big leg up in a similar way to getting a big shortcut in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And look, we think right now that this is simplistic and it's just a fun little addition, but the pro Mario Kart players, the people who are super into this game, are going to break this on day one, and they're going to find some crazy new ways with this new movement system to absolutely break these courses and get crazy low time. So the idea that skill is kind of gone in this Mario Kart, I think, couldn't be further from the truth. Even with these wider, maybe less windy courses, there's just so many more ways to move on top of them. And that's why I also think the in-between courses are going to be fun, because all of these different movement options means that, yes, even if you are driving in mostly a straight line, there's going to be so much to do in that straight line to get an edge or to just have some fun driving from one course to the other. Not only are there going to be a bunch of different cars and different enemies and obstacles on these in-between courses, some of which you could even get into. We saw in the main trailer that Birdo got into a truck and started driving the truck across the street. But you can also just use that straight drift and wall ride and rail grind all across these different areas. And whether you just want to get an edge or just have some fun and just goof around, jumping off of all sorts of different parts of the courses, I think it's going to be really fun. I think these in-between courses are also being slept on because, no, they are not courses proper, but I think calling them mini courses isn't totally unfair, especially if we play the game and they're super fun to play. And from what I've seen on Twitter, people who have played this game at the Switch 2 experiences really did like driving in between courses. It's something that I think everyone's going to have to try out for themselves and see if they really like it. But from what I heard, it was pretty darn fun, and it is going to change the game and change how we interact with Mario Kart. So I am really excited about that. Obviously, it adds to feel and it adds to the, collective world element of this game, but I think it could also just be a lot of fun to drive in between courses and have those hectic highways where you have to navigate through a bunch of traffic. I think it's going to be pretty darn fun to play, but we'll have to see. Me personally, though, this new gameplay engine, this new movement system, I think is just going to be a blast to master, and it just feels a lot more exciting than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where yes, you were driving on walls and driving on ceilings technically, but a lot of times it didn't really feel like it. The anti-gravity feature was really cool and made for some awesome courses, but it wasn't always super evident that you were, driving on a wall rather than just driving normally. Here, you're going to really notice it because you might be driving on a wall, but someone else might be rail grinding. Someone else might just be driving normally. So there's going to be so much variety. You can tackle all these tracks in different ways. You can play them a totally different way one time to the next, and I think that's going to be so darn exciting. Number 4, I just love this hilarious freaking roster of all these little enemies. It's so cute that you can be a swoop, you can ride as a little bat, you can ride as a Pokey, you can be a cow, you can be a Goomba, you can be Spike. All of these different little enemies that have no right being racers in this game that have been added to the character roster. Would I have liked to see some more creative, I suppose, or I guess unique is the word, because I think these are pretty creative additions to add these enemies and give them their own card and give them their own animations. I think it's so cute and so smart to add all these different overworld enemies into the roster proper. But would I have liked some more unique characters like the Kongs or like EGAD or even like the Koopalings, which seem to be absent from this game? Sure, I would have liked to see a little more of that, but what we've got is pretty fun. I mean, it's the biggest Mario Kart roster ever, and again, these characters are just so hilarious. I don't even know which one I'm going to pick because there are so many stupid little enemies that you can play as in this game. And add on to that the fact that there are so many fun costumes in this game as well. That's the one thing Tor got totally right, is having all of those really cute little costumes that you can use on your characters. And it seems like the main characters like Mario are going to have 10 costumes. Yes, some characters won't have any. It seems like Cow and Swoop and characters like that who are minor additions won't have costumes, though some characters who you'd consider enemies like Shy Guy certainly do have costumes. We've seen Shy Guy in a few different costumes in the clips we've seen of Mario Kart World. But if you count the costumes as different characters, and I don't know if I would, but Mario Kart Tour certainly did, That's a whole lot of characters and a whole lot of variety and a whole lot of customization and personality. There's such a variety from which to choose who you're going to race as, and in a lot of cases, it is absolutely hilarious to see these things racing, whether it be some stupid enemies or whether it be, pun, Wario in a bee costume, which is the funniest freaking costume I've ever seen. Every time I see Wario in a bee costume, I just laugh because his design is just ridiculous. That might be my main. Once I unlock that costume, I might not go back because that is hilarious, and I can't wait to see what costumes they've hidden in this game, because obviously we know there are more than what we've seen, especially for some of these characters who have 10 different costumes. And then number 5 for why I am excited about Mario Kart World is it just looks so beautiful. I think the thing that I keep coming back to is the day and night and weather cycles. It seems like they might just be cosmetic, but even if they are just cosmetic, that could make for some gameplay variety, sort of like the Animal Crossing track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where the layout didn't really change, the obstacles didn't really change, but it still almost felt like you had 4 different tracks because the season changed from winter to spring to summer to fall. The day, night, and weather cycle offer a similar experience where one time you're playing a course, it might be nighttime and rainy, the next time it might be a bright, sunny day. At the very least, it's going to change the courses in decoration and in vibe, which is going to give them more replayability, but maybe, just maybe, there's going to be a little bit of differences in design. There's been no evidence of that, but it could be cool if they add some different obstacles. Maybe if it's raining, you get, some electric enemies. If it's snowing, maybe there's more snowmen on the course. Again, that's total conjecture. Probably not going to happen, but it's worth noting. And even if it doesn't, man, that is going to make for some beautiful shots. Just imagine some of these courses with the evening sunset going down, or even something like a desert course at night with the moonlight shining above. There's been some shots we've seen of the desert courses at night, and every single time I just find them so stunning. I think this game is going to look absolutely beautiful. Obviously there's the new designs which look incredible. The game just has so much charm, but I think the beauty of this game has been kind of underrated by a lot of fans, because I think you combine the 4K graphics with the best technology and the best textures Nintendo developers have ever had. You combine that with the charm and the incredible designs, you're getting a Mario Kart game that is super stylish, super pretty, and one that just seems incredibly fun to look at with so much variety in its design. That developer interview I've mentioned a few times showed a lot of different concept art, and you can see how much work went into designing this game from an art perspective and making sure it looked as good as possible. And boy, do I think they've succeeded in that regard. This game looks absolutely stunning, and I can't wait to experience all of the different sites there are in Mario Kart World. So those are my thoughts. Those are the 5 things that I think are going to make Mario Kart World the best Mario Kart ever, and an experience that I think people are truly sleeping on the Switch 2's launch day. Again, those 5 things are the free roam mode, which I think has a lot more than people are giving it credit for, Knockout Tour, which I think is going to be so fun, the dynamic gameplay with rail grinding, wall riding, or midair spinning, the hilarious roster with all sorts of cute little enemies and very fun costumes, and then the day, night, and weather cycle, which is going to make this game incredibly pretty to look at. So those are my 5 reasons I'm hyped about Mario Kart World. I hope you agree. Tell me in the comments below, are you excited for the next entry in the Mario Kart series? Which edition has you most hyped? What edition has you most concerned? Tell me anything about this game and your hopes, your dreams, your concerns, all sorts of stuff in the comments below. I'll be reading and responding to them all. So give me your thoughts down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that big, fat button. We're just about a week away from the Switch 2, which is crazy to say, but it's not going to slow down once that console releases. There's going to be so much to talk about in terms of future Nintendo news, future gaming news. It's a busy time here in the gaming industry, and I can't wait to cover it all. I just made a recent video talking about the potential of a June Nintendo Direct and all the games we could see in that. So if you're interested, click on it. Go check out that video. I thought it was a pretty good one. And with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.